dead of night. When you're all alone, visions of terror run wild. Only tonight they will be real, because all the legends of darkness are coming out of the closet. In Deadtime stories. An insanely wicked nightmare, haunted by bizarre creatures carving their way through a maniacal fable, oozing with evil magic. From the door to your most secret fears, all the way to Grandma's house, horror is back in style. I'm gonna make this very painful. Now it's time to say your prayers, because all your nightmares come to life in Deadtime stories.
Hello, folks. Welcome to another one of those Cinema Beef quarantine specials, a review, if you will. With me tonight for this is Mr. Cameron Scott. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How you all doing?
Fine. And she watched the movie, so she's here with us as well. Suzanne, how are you?
Okay, it is day 5 of shelter at home.
I didn't ask you.
My cats seem to want to push me down the stairs, but my dog seems happy.
What are you doing in my personal space? You go away eventually. I swear you do, you know. Yeah, tonight we're going to talk about, I think, an underrated anthology film. I mean, I think it was pretty dumb to me as a child. I enjoy the wit of it now for some reason. And that's the 1986 Deadtime stories. There was other ones that George Romero produced or something that are not very good. I think this one is very decent. Streaming on Amazon Prime right now. I think it's the Scream Factory print of it, so it looks really fine. Your plot synopsis is this. It's from 1986, by the way. I'm sorry. A babysitting uncle tells his charges. He only has one charge, IMDb. He has one young boy who's kind of an asshole. 3 horror stories about a killer witch, Little Red Riding Hood, and a werewolf, and Goldilocks, Goldilox, and the three bears. Yeah. This film stars Scott Valentine, who you may know as,
Nick.
Yeah, Nick from Family Ties, yes. And some other Melissa Leo shows up in this movie. Academy Award winner Melissa Leo, who's been in tons of stuff.
That was her.
Yeah. Some other names of mention is the one that plays Goldilocks. Catherine DePrume has been in tons of stuff. Long list of credits, including Shameless and a lot of TV stuff. But you wouldn't guess it from her role as the telekinetic, we'll get into it, Goldilocks in this movie. She was in an episode of Coach. Nice.
Wow.
Northern Exposure. I missed that show for some reason. This was directed by Jeffrey Dellman, who did a lot of miscellaneous crew stuff, but didn't do a whole lot of writing and or directing, But he wrote Stuck on You from '82, which is a very early trauma film, one of their original sex comedies. I think that and Squeeze Play came out around the same time. That's probably his biggest writing credit that I can see that folks would recognize. But like I said, this has 3 stories. It starts out with the wraparound with the uncle who's hanging out with his nephew. All he wants to do is watch the Miss Nude pageant on what do you say, Spectravision or some shit like that, Uncle Mike and the asshole, little Brian. And little Brian, of course, claims he hears monsters underneath his bed. And Uncle Mike has to tell him a story. This little demanding little fuck. So he has to make up his own stories. And the first of which is this story about this killer witch and their young ward who intends to go collect the girls so they can resurrect their dead sister. And I'm going to kick it to Suzanne first, ask her what she thought of the wraparound in general and the first story?
I have to admit, I think that the wraparound is the best part of the movie. It's funny. I like a little what the hell is that marionette thing that's kind of hanging by the closet.
Yeah, that
This
pays
first
off later.
story. Oh, it does.
Yeah.
The first story is probably maybe the most thought out of the three. And I was really hoping, because I think I either went to the theater to see this when it came out. Yes, I'm that old. Or it was something that I rented immediately because I've always had a thing for anthology movies. But yeah, it was kind of my only big disappointment. Scott Valentine is in this, and like I said, he was really, really, his career was on fire for about 6 months with with Family Ties, because he just kind of did a few things and just kind of up and vanished. But yeah, the first story actually has some pretty decent gore in it. I was a little surprised going back on it. It was just, there were a few kind of ew, that's kind of nasty moments in this. The witches were hilarious. They just remind me of these just old bumbling ladies, and he's just kind of this guy they got hanging around to do their bidding. Yeah, it's the first one. Like I said, I think it's the strongest. It's not my favorite, but I think it's the most thought out part of the three stories.
Cameron?
I gotta agree with Suzanne. It's the best constructed story. It's the best written story, and again, it's not my favorite of the three. We'll get into my favorite later, but but the wraparound and whatnot. That kid, all I kept thinking was, this kid can't die soon enough. And that's a horrible thing to think. But I'm just like, oh, this whining kid. That's why some people aren't fit to be parents, I guess. But this like weaseling little kid, getting Uncle Mike to read him. No, that story's not a good one. Read me a real story, one you make up. But the witch segment, though, I really like it. I mean, by process of elimination, one has got to be your least favorite, in an anthology film. But I seriously don't remember seeing this when I was younger. I know I did, but it was one of those, I must have just seen it once, and then it just kind of went under the rug for a few years, because I remembered bits and pieces. I didn't remember this segment. So it was almost like seeing it again for the first time. So when the revelation, when Scott Valentine takes the old man to the women, and then there's that revelation that, oh no, they're these nasty looking witches that look like they came from Rob Zombie's Lords of Salem or something like that. So it is exceptionally gory. I was really surprised with how gory it got. It had a kind of Hellraiser Frank transformation kind of sequence going on there towards the end of it, that was actually really good. It just is the days it makes me long for old school, practical effects. But that's what I took away from it.
One thing I got to bring up is we're going to talk about the makeup effects of this film, because for a shitty little anthology film, which I don't even know what the budget was for, it had to be next to nothing. This guy Ed French, who did the makeup effects, worked on a lot of pretty heavy hitters: Medieval 2, Sleepaway Camp, Exterminator 2, Chud, The Stuff, Necropolis, Breeders, what else? Creepshow 2, Blood Rage, Vampire's Kiss. He worked on a whole bunch of stuff throughout the 80s and the 90s. What else? Terminator 2, Star Trek 6, Hellraiser Bloodline. So there's your Hellraiser connection. All the way up to, he worked on Preacher, the TV show, in 2018. So he worked a long time on some pretty decent projects. So I like the silliness of this one too. The witches are very funny, like you said. The plot is not as thin as the other stories, but still pretty thin. Basically, you got this young ward who once he kidnaps the buxom she makes a joke that she may be Snow White in this thing, and kidnap brings her to the witches. He's gonna free her, get with her. But what she before that is the witches resurrecting the sister, and like Cameron said, it reminds you so much of Hellraiser because you would expect this out of the movie. Once the heart starts beating and it forms, that looks really gross, and then she starts forming out of the skeleton, and that's really gross looking, but really really great looking for a film of this caliber. Almost like these effects don't belong in this movie, but it looks really good. I gotta say, it looks really good. And my favorite part of the whole thing is the very end where the kid is dissatisfied with the story, so that the uncle changes the end to where the witch still lives, and he's just choking these people wildly, and I can't stop laughing.
Oh, I know that. Like, it's like getting an alternative ending.
Yeah, I know.
It's like outtake. Oh,
Man, oh man, but fun stuff. But our second story is essentially a take on Little Red Riding Hood, where you got the buxom, I forget the girl's name now. Give me a moment.
Rachel.
We have Rachel, who's this raven-haired young lady who's gonna go for a jog and go collect her grandmother's medicine from the pharmacy, but she gets it mixed up with this guy Willie. She gets his medicine, which is a sedative, and grandma's medicine, I don't know why you get Maalox from a pharmacist for. I couldn't tell you, but it's fucking weird. But anyway, Willie's a werewolf, and it's gonna be a full moon, so he needs his sedatives to go to sleep. Apparently, like that's gonna work. This never worked in any fucking werewolf movie ever. But you're welcome. But after a day of getting rubbed on in a fucking air mattress, she goes home to find that Grandma has been dealing with this werewolf, and yeah, Willie has gone full blown werewolf. And again, I liked the makeup effects of the werewolf. Really simple. The claws look good. But I would kick it to Cameron first. I think it's Suzanne last time. Cameron, what'd you think of the second story of the Riding Hood?
it just, there's such a tonal shift from the first segment to the second segment. There's the whole sequence. Gosh, it's hard to even explain. You got the whole sequence where the girl is basically masturbating while looking in the mirror and fantasizing, seeing this guy in the mirror that's not really there, while right next to it, Mel Gibson is staring you in the face from the Beyond Thunderdome poster that's in the wall. So it's like, I'm just like, this is like all I could think of. I'm like, I just didn't get it. And then all of a sudden, she gets kind of snapped to attention and brought out of her trance. And the dog is licking her ass.
Yes.
Let's just, get the elephant out in the room here. But, like, did anybody else feel a little uncomfortable by this? I mean, by a little, I mean a lot.
Well,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, because she's having a fantasy about the sex she's going to have later. But, the dog's in the room licking her ass like he's licking some fucking peanut butter or something.
Oh.
And she was a little too into it. Like maybe the dog was tugging at her undies or something.
No, I just kept looking in the background for like an empty jar of Jif sitting there somewhere. But the getting past that part, the boyfriend. This has to be the guy. He gets the award for the least amount of game in the world.
Man,
like he still gets some. How? I mean, how? I just don't get it.
Homegirl is dumb and apparently very, I don't even know the word here to find, because basically he's supposed to represent the woodsman, okay? And she follows him into the woods because he's got candles and what he calls an air mattress, which is just it's a goddamn fucking pool floaty, okay?
Oh yeah, he's got candles, a shed in the middle of nowhere that he has to break into, and the candles and whatnot. It's like this guy is just apparently the only game in town. But,
hey, his puppy jacket game is strong, man. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah. It's the most awkward of the three, and I think I love the werewolf sequences actually, and that's actually a big thing for me because I as as a rule don't usually like werewolf films. I'm just usually not a fan. I'm usually not impressed by it, but I appreciated the awkwardness and the weirdness of this segment. I kind of wanted to see like a feature film with the idea. That's the one thing I walk away from a lot of anthologies. I want to see like bigger versions of these smaller stories. But that being said, the ending was great. I saw it coming a mile away because I'm just like, this is what I would do. And I'm like, yep, that's what they did. And I love the music. The music is goofy and it's like not something that you would normally listen to. But like for this kind of film, it's fucking great. Like the offbeat songs are just crazy. They're killer. I love them.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had a few of myself, and I want to look up some of these tracks maybe. I can't really tell if the music was done by one person because he says music by Taj. I don't know how Taj is, and if he's done all the songs in the movie too. I couldn't tell you, but it's worth looking up. I think because I didn't mention the opening song, but it's not great. But it's kind of like if Lamal wrote a song for a horror anthology. If you kids don't know who Lamal is, he's the guy that sings the Never Ending Story song. Okay,
And he was with that band Kajagoogoo from the early '80s.
Oh yeah. See, Suzanne's bringing the music knowledge. See,
apparently I know my '80s shit.
Apparently, she's not too shy. Okay, there you go. Suzanne, what about you and this tawdry little, possibly bestiality thrown in her werewolf tale?
This is just a really uncomfortable little segment for hopefully everybody, because Cameron brought up the dog. Because when they showed the dog licking her, and I haven't seen this since I watched it the first time, which was back in the '80s, and I forgot how really uncomfortable that was. And I think my favorite little sub character in this one is the pharmacist, because he is as sleazy as it could possibly have gotten.
Oh yeah,
got that slicked back hair, that push broom mustache. Ain't got nothing on Ron Swanson though, but still we have the same little concept going, a little bit more on the Freddie Mercury side. And this dumb shit messes up the prescriptions. Oh my God. How stupid can you be? And yeah, let's talk about that dude that she was meeting up with. Okay, it was the '80s. Puffy coats and apparently just being an asshole with blonde hair. That was your standard. This is what all guys achieved.
Don't forget the 8-year-old haircut, okay?
It was the '80s. Shit like that just flew.
I don't know.
And, I will say I do like werewolves. And I agree with Cameron. The werewolf sequences were really good. I preferred, that was a really decent looking werewolf.
Oh,
but
yeah.
They just went so overboard with the cheesiness in this one. I mean, this dude was like pulling puns out of his ass. And blowing up that mattress, or the pool floaty in actuality.
I had to pause it and be like, homeboy's really going to blow up this pool floaty.
Well, he was full of a whole lot of hot air.
you get 2 scenes of him finishing blowing up this pool floaty. Like, yeah, it's almost there, honey. It's almost time for love,
Yeah, but this one, like I said, this is the one, I don't know. This one is just, it's awkward. I agree complete with Cameron. It is awkward and a little uncomfortable at times. But like I said,
uncomfortable. It starts out with the dad, describing this 18-year-old girl and how buxom she is to the boy, and the boy's like, "That's not how mom tells the story."
He's just
what you're in for.
he's getting more and more drunk throughout the night, so because he wants to watch these titties on TV. So he's got to kind of turn himself on while telling his bedtime story just to get his rocks off a little bit.
Yeah, I actually felt bad for the uncle in the wraparound because I'm like, seriously, fuck that kid.
You're like, I hope there's a monster under your bed, you little bastard.
Yeah, I know, and I wish it would eat you so I could finish watching Miss Nude Beach, whatever. This one, like I said, it's awkward. It's hilarious. This is like the straight up, it's not even black humor. It's just kind of slapsticky comedy. It's fun though. I'm sorry. I really got to say it. The very last sentence in the segment. Oh my grandma, what big teeth you have.
Oh, I love the twist. I love the twist on that. It's so stupid, but it works.
I just laughed my ass off.
Grandma got a neck wound is all I'm going to say about that one, okay? And something hilarious happens.
And talk about the world's most unflattering, freeze frame on that poor actress. Just, it's like, ooh, thumb in the ass. That's what that looks like. That's what that looks like.
It's time for your enema, Grandma. Whoa! Yeah.
What a big brown eye you have, Grandma.
Oh, I heard that one.
Dum-dum, I'm here all night.
Yes, indeed. No, it's fun. The werewolf effects were great. I mean, it's quirky as shit, which is what I love about this movie. That it's not something to be taken as high-class cinema, but just something to churn on and to laugh at. Kind of like we did that Trick or Treats movie on NFW, and it's not a great film like that, but it has elements that are just stupid and silly, and this movie is got a lot of those elements too. And I like to move on to the last segment now, just to I even say get this over with, because I think this segment is wacky and wonderful. This is you can probably hear the Major purring into the microphone right now, by the way, because she's hanging on the desk being an asshole like cats do. Yeah, this is the Goldilocks and the Three Bears episode, and basically this follows the Bear family. Their last name is Bear, and the two of them, Baby Bear and Papa Bear, are at a mental institute, very loosely running around the grounds like in Halloween and shit. And Mama Bear comes to rescue them, Mama Fratelli style, like in the Goonies, to go collect them. And of course, they go look for the house that they apparently abandoned or gonna squat in. I can't really tell if it's their house or not, but they pull all the gags of say just sleeping in my bed, say sleeping in my bed. Well, the someone is Goldilocks, which is a girl who's a mass murderer, and this is the hilarious part about this. Like every horror film, you have that scene where all the bodies are collected. Well, she's collected a whole bunch of people that she killed in this house, and just hangs out and talks to them. And she has telekinetic powers. But, Suzanne, what do you think about this episode?
This is my favorite segment of all of them. And this one, I've watched Melissa Leo in a lot of amazing roles, particularly Homicide, which is one of my favorite shows. But I barely even recognized her. But she is just hilarious in this. And good old Goldilocks, you guys only think of one thing as the guy is kind of hanging in the air with his face dragging on the ground with a stake through him. Just kind of going along behind him. For me, it's like
she's lifting him up with her mind. This is the fucking funny part about this shit,
I know, that's what I meant. He's just dangling behind her. And that's what for me, it's just it's the little things in this particular segment that I just absolutely love. So basically, she falls in love with Baby Bear, and she's like, I didn't know it could be this good. And, the earthquakes going on and thunder and screaming, and it's just pretty damn spectacular. But for me, I'm basically only going to talk about this one little scene just because I think it's hilarious. when the four of them are sitting in the diner and the waitress is being like straight up bitch to her. And you just kind of hear the ow and a bunch of stuff hitting the ground. That's when I had to pause and just laugh to myself for a couple of minutes. But yeah, this is the most fun of the three. I laugh at it. Once again, it's what the effects are good. It's fun. There's not a lot of effects, but it's still it's the most fun. It's the one I really look forward to seeing again.
Cool, Cameron.
Once again, I agree with Suzanne. It's the most fun segment. It's my favorite segment. I mean, it opens up with that whole sequence with Goldilocks levitating that guy. And it was like watching it for the first time because I didn't remember that part at all. And I was like, what the fuck are we in for here? It's crazy. It's craziness. It's goofy fun. It's goofier in hell. I mean, like, again, there was another segment where I had to pause, and I was pretty positive, and then I looked up on IMDb and had to nerdily confirm it. The mama bear is holding a damn Star Wars stormtrooper rifle when they find Goldilocks in their bathroom, and I was just like, really? I'm like, pretty sure Lucas would be really interested in seeing that. He would not get away with that today. But Goldilocks, man, she's a bad girl. It's not what I was expecting. Not at all. Again, it was all around fun. I mean, I loved how they turned around the whole, I guess you could say modernize or whatever, the whole, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It was really good. It saved the whole film for me. Because for as far as the segment goes, saving the best segment for last may not have been their best, I don't know, marketing strategy, but I loved it. That segment alone was a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I love basically, they took these people who were not really hardened criminals; they were just kind of put away, and they run into something that's much far worse than themselves. I love stories like that, like tables have turned because they found something obviously more powerful than they are, which is this fucking blonde girl who has telekinesis and psychotic. Why they threw telekinesis in this thing, I don't know, but I'm so glad they did because it made it this kind of funny. And the soundtrack was great, and you mentioned the soundtrack and other stuff. This had some fun little wacky tracks in it too, and I have to commend the filmmaker for doing what he did with this segment because it's kind of like it kind of left you out with tickling your funny bone until you got to the end of the wraparound, which is much more dark than this whole segment is. But the scenes where she uses her telekinesis, one of which is hilarious, where the newscaster accuses her of possibly being telekinetic, and she fucking knocks him on his ass or something while he's in the newsroom. She makes the waitress choke on her gum. So I guess this is on me or something, she says, and of course they ride off into the sunset. The bears and Goldilocks. I guess to go on a fucking crime spree, which I'd love to see a second part of this, which I know will never happen, but goddamn entertaining, man.
It's a lost opportunity to have not shown that.
Yes. I want to see the crime spree of one Goldilocks and the Three Bears, just for fucking the dumb baby bear, till those loins fall off or something, and if that's possible, because she obviously found herself a dumb one, and she was all for that, and I love that. And wraparound though, he's finally done telling the stories. He's ready to go to sleep. Fucking Uncle Mike's ready to nut with this fucking Miss Nude pageant, because that's all he had to nut to that night. He was waiting for that payoff all night, but little Billy was being a fucking asshole with these stories. little Billy sees something real, which that the puppet they keep going to through this thing turns into a pretty incredible looking clay puppet. I don't even know what it was made of, like latex and rubber. It's a pretty good looking puppet, but a very real monster is in his room now, and you have to assume with a blood curdling voice that Billy is dead. Uncle Mike is like, "Fuck it." I think this is the line that he used, or "Screw it" or something.
Yeah, I think he says.
I'm sorry. What did you say? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I think he. No. I was just agreeing with you. I think he does just say "screw it," kind of shrug, throws it up.
He's rated a nut, and he doesn't give a shit what Billy thinks, and that's the end of your movie. Freeze frame on Uncle Mike, and I had a goddamn good time with this movie, and I'm gonna kick it to Suzanne. Any final thoughts on this weird little anthology? What would you give it 1 to 10?
Oh, it's just fun. I mean, it's not anything super spectacular, but you know what? It's not 90 minutes I'm gonna want back. I still liked it. Like I said, I hadn't seen it since it first came out. And one thing I was really surprised about is that there was a couple of anthologies I saw just really, just some of the ones from the mid 80s and late 80s that they usually have like 1 star in it. And in this case, it was Scott Valentine, but they'd be in every segment.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised that he wasn't in every segment. And now I can kind of see why. Because he really is just kind of was a one-note kind of actor. Is kind of a little bit on the duh side.
Yep.
and by a little, you mean a lot.
Yeah, I do. But it's not a terrible movie. If you watch it for anything, watch for some of these like great physical effects, because that was the one thing that even there's a few times where my attention was slipping, but the practical effects always brought me back into it, and you got to stay for Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
I wanted more. That's my only regret.
I know. I really wish that they had found a way to extend that, because that was the best of the three. But yeah, I'm probably going to give it about a 6. Well worth a watch. And if you get a chance to watch it, go for it. It's not something you should spend a lot of money on.
Cool. Cameron?
I went into this almost kind of blind, having not remembered, like I said, not remembering seeing it. And I was glad to revisit it. Again, I'll agree with Suzanne with the idea that, it's not 90 minutes I want back. I'm good with not having to see it again anytime soon, but it was fun. A lot of anthologies, I think, take themselves a bit too serious in trying to tell the story, and this one had a lot of fun with it. And I really want the soundtrack. I want to find the soundtrack. I'm probably going to, when the show's over, I'm going to search it out on YouTube, see if I can, or somewhere, and see if I can find a couple of the tracks, because I think more movies need to have an opening credit sequence like this movie had too. The kind of animated, that stop motion animation as the hand was turning the page. That was really neat. That was something I wanted to touch base on. I thought that was really cool. And the opening credit song, as goofy as it was really fun. And but the third segment was my favorite. I would probably have to give it the same rating. I think I'd give it a 6.
Cool. Yeah, I'm with that 6. It was goddamn enjoyable. I can't say it's as good as like Creepshow or anything, but it's good in other ways. Like we all said, that the practicals are surprisingly great. I mean, you watch them and you wouldn't expect out of a film like this, and yeah, it's fun, man. I really loved it. I'll give it a 6 as well, and a 6 that I can. It sounds weird. A 6 that I can recommend, because I can't recommend you guys to watch something on. It's on Prime, like we said, and it's something dumb that you can just turn on and just get lost in it, because it's so absurd in parts. And that's a big part of its charm, is that it's so absurd in parts. You know?
That is its charm, and that's what saves it.
Yeah.
So Deadtime Stories. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to add. I'm glad it didn't take itself too seriously.
No, it never did.
I know. And if it did, I can't even imagine what kind of a train wreck this would have been.
Yeah, that's Deadtime Stories from 1986, though. Our next quarantine review is today, of all days, people. During this time of quarantine, we lost one of our beloved masters of horror, Chicagoan and Lovecraft enthusiast, Stuart Gordon. So we're not going to do a tribute show or anything right now, but we're going to do a review of one of his films that I think is underseen and pretty great, which is Edmund from 2005, which features a great performance by William H. Macy and a script by David Mamet. And I don't know who's going to be on that one, but we'll see who shows up, and we'll do that next. But always remember, at the Cinebeef Podcast, if you got beef, we've got the grinder. See you next time.